Hey folks, Ari Cohen here, head of customer success. So I wanted to show a new update we did to the automatic seasonality tool. We had some complaints where people were getting these really big graphs for future sales, and they couldn't understand why. You'd have like a very low sales the year before, and then this predicted year was really high. And what we discovered is it's the way that the first month was being calculated. So I've made a simulation here to give you an example. So just to back up on how the calculation works, right? Last June, we sold 11 units. Now, what our real percentage was is here, but I've lowered this down to 11 to give you a fake percentage. So what would happen is if the calculation would basically say 7 units sold is 11% of what? And that equation would solve for what new normal is. And then all of these would be based off of that normal line. So in this example, if this were a real product with the real stats, 7 units divided by 11% equals a normal of 63 units sold per period, in this case per month. So what would happen then is based on that 11%, what the system would do is for June of this year and moving forward, it would say your sales this month, if I put this on monthly, you've sold, we expect 10 sales. So 10 divided by 11% sets a new normal of 90 per month. So 90 per month is up here, which is really, really high because last year our average per month was a lot less than that. So it's a bit confusing, the math, but everything would be kind of gauged on that. So what we did to solve that problem, and by the way, the reason this would happen is, you might have just launched a product or you could have had a big stock out period for several months due to COVID or supply chain issues, suppliers being shut down. And you might have just been coming back into business, or maybe you just launched a product. So what we did is we set, and by the way, this would normally be really low, like 3% or something else. So now if it's below 11%, you'll see this little icon pop up. And basically what this is telling you is that if your first month percentage is less than 11%, meaning 10% or lower, we're going to, even if it says 3%, we're going to set it at 100. So look what happens when I save this. That's going to recalculate June of this year at 100% and set the new normal based on whatever your actual velocity is. So now this curve is a lot more realistic. We are on an uptrend from last year, but only a slight upward trend, like this peak versus that peak, this peak versus that peak, etc. So I just wanted to show that to you because now the sales are a lot more realistic. Now, if your first month is still low and it's in a low range, like 12% or something, that is going to inflate the numbers a bit. So what you want to do is if you ever get that, we can't automate this 100% because there's no way for us to determine if this was on this particular tool without a massive amount of additional programming and like AI algorithms, what the circumstances were that led to a low month here. Yeah, it could have been a stock out. You could have just launched the product, but to develop a tool where we have to make that decision for you that we should replace this percentage, we decided only to do it on 10% or lower. So if you have a low month like 13 or 14% or 15%, you're going to have to come in here and manually update this. So in this case, ours was actually 145. So it's not a big problem, but you could come in here and just put in 100% and just set normal at whatever your current velocity is. So these percentages are going to be based on the same sales curve, just based on your current velocity set at 100%, or whatever you think your current velocity is a percentage of. I hope that makes sense, but that's kind of our temporary solution for this until we can figure out a more automated way to do it. Probably what we'll wind up having is a setting that you can toggle on and off, where you get to set what the percentage is, where we should determine if that's too low or not, if that makes sense. So in this case, I'm going to set it back to the original 145, and we're good to go.